The silent waves of Titan. In the name of God. Listen, my son. Tonight, I'll tell you the story that changed the rhythm of my breath, the story that made me the man you see today. It's the same story that echoes every night through the winds of the ocean, the silent waves of Titan. It began when I was young, with salt in my eyes and storms in my heart. I didn't yet understand what courage meant. I only had one burning desire: to uncover the secrets of the sea, to see the unseen beneath its depths. People called me an explorer. Some called me mad, but I always said, the ocean never lies, you just have to know how to listen. You've often asked me, Dad, when was the first time you knew you could do something great? And I always answer, the day I first saw the blueprint of the Titan XRs. The name itself carried power, but behind it was more than a ship, it was a dream, a vow. Built by the world's best engineers and Navy officers, Titan wasn't just a vessel, it was a promise that the ocean would finally reveal its truths. As a boy, I grew up hearing stories of heroes. But that day, I felt like I was becoming one. I worked hard, stayed up countless nights, and eventually, I was chosen for the mission. To board the Titan was an honor, but also a burden. A burden of lives, trust, and a sacred word: responsibility. You once asked me, if you weren't there, what would have happened? It's a good question. I asked myself the same many times. But life taught me something. The answers hiding behind our questions are what make us look back and understand who we are. If it wasn't me, it would have been someone else, but would that have changed anything? Yes, it would. Because the moment a person makes a choice, the entire world shifts, even if only a little. During those days aboard Titan, I had a young partner named Rihan. He had fearless eyes and a loyal heart. With him, I saw everything: the soft laughter of calm tides, the rage of storms, and the quiet fragility of human souls. Rihan was like a brother to me. One day, when you find a true companion in your life, you'll understand what that means: how one person's courage can give peace to another's heart. The days of mechanical drills, scientific tests, and long training sessions passed like any other, until the world began to change. Tension rose across borders, scientists warned of threats, and suspicion started to ripple across the seas. We were told that certain forces sought access to the hidden technologies beneath the ocean. If a ship like Titan fell into the wrong hands, it could change not only the battlefield, but the fate of entire cities. You once asked, Dad, what if those people weren't enemies, just seekers of power? What would you have done? The truth is, I always tried to place morality at the center of my choices. But when death, fear, and power stand before you, morality itself becomes a test. Every military decision isn't just an order, it's a balance between duty and humanity. If they had only wanted power, maybe we could have stopped them without bloodshed. But the world, my son, is never that simple. When the truth of our enemy came to light, our senior officers devised multiple strategies. Our mission had been one of exploration and protection, but everything changed overnight. One moonlit evening, we received the alert: enemy contact imminent. Titan went on full patrol. I called Rihan aside. His eyes still carried that youthful courage that made me both proud and fearful. He asked, Captain, should we fight? I looked into his eyes. There was a storm behind them. I told him, if we fight with reason, with heart, and with conscience. Because war, my son, is never just about machines. It's about people, emotions, loyalties, flaws, and love. One command, one mistake, one moment of hesitation, and innocent lives can be lost. That's when a man truly faces himself. If I weren't here, would I save others, or myself? Would I obey the order, or follow my soul? The enemy struck, swift and merciless. But they weren't just soldiers, they were backed by minds who wished to rewrite civilization itself. We acted fast. Defensive positions, civilian safety protocols, everything we had. But then came the unthinkable. The enemy tried to hack Titan's control systems. Their goal: to hijack the ship and steer it into a populated coastal city. That moment tested every man aboard. Some showed courage, some froze in fear. Rihan came to me and whispered, Captain, what if we're forced to steer toward that city? I saw the truth in his eyes, and my answer came not in words, but in action. We made a choice. If Titan was about to fall into enemy hands, we would take her to the deep trench, a place so vast that no technology could ever retrieve her again. It meant risking everyone aboard, but saving thousands on land. A brutal choice, but sometimes, saving lives means giving one away. You asked me once, did you sacrifice people, Dad? No, my son. We didn't take lives, we tried to save them. But war is cruel. Sometimes, to save many, one must bear the pain of losing a few. That's the hardest truth a soldier ever faces. As the enemy breached our systems, chaos spread. Alarms screamed, metal groaned. Rihan and I locked eyes. We both knew what needed to be done. Someone had to manually override the control from inside the ship's core system. It meant one person would have to stay behind. I told my crew to evacuate. I gave Rihan the command code, the authority to lead. He shouted, "Captain, come back." I smiled and said, "Sometimes, son, coming back means losing everything. But if you carry this forward, the world will live." And then, it began. Titan turned toward the trench. The enemy's signals grew frantic, then faded. The sea roared like a living thing, swallowing us whole. Rihan survived, and he lived to tell the story of the man who gave everything to protect thousands. His words were the ones the world later remembered. The captain taught us what it means to be human. As the ocean embraced me, I felt part of myself sink forever, but another part stayed alive, carried in memories, in love, in legacy. That night, I understood something eternal. Some things are worth saving, no matter the cost. Years later, your mother told me that when the news broke, the whole nation mourned, but within the grief were stories of courage, loyalty, and love. And among them was one, about a man who gave his life so others could live. You once asked me, Dad, was it courage or madness? I think the line between the two is very thin. But if a man stands with his conscience, it becomes courage. I followed my conscience, and that gave me peace. Now, as we sit here by the shore, and you run your fingers through my graying hair, remember this. Every person has choices. We never know their full cost, but our intentions and our integrity are what guide us through them. When you grow up and take your place in this world, make your decisions with humanity first, and power second. Never let your gain cost another's life. You asked, do you regret it, Dad? Regret. Perhaps a quiet sadness, but not regret. Because that one act saved countless mothers' sons, countless fathers' children. If I had to do it all over again, I would. Because life isn't just about living, it's about saving lives. That night, under the silver glow of the moon, I told you this story. You stayed silent, but I saw that question in your eyes. Would I have done the same? I hope one day you will. But remember, power must always walk hand in hand with humanity. Finally, I'll show you something I've kept all these years, a small note, signed by Rihan, and a piece of metal we left behind in the deep. When you touch it, you'll feel it too, the heartbeat of sacrifice. And someday, when you tell this story to your own child, you'll understand its weight. You'll say, once, there was a man who gave his life to save the world. And your child will ask, what if you weren't there? And you'll smile and say, if I weren't, someone else would have been. Because faith, morality, and love are the forces that can conquer any titan. This story, my son, is for you, and for all those who ask questions, who seek, and who act. Because within every person lies an ocean, filled with courage, fear, love, and sacrifice. And in that ocean, the waves of truth never die. Now get up, son. It's time for school. And someday, when you stand by the sea, you might whisper, Dad, I'm going. And I'll be proud. Because the questions you carry will be the ones that make you strong. That was the story of the silent waves of Titan. A story of duty, love, and the quiet courage that keeps the world alive.